Okay, hello everyone and welcome to the evening kickoff. It's a show all about the Meghalaya State League 2023, which is currently underway. And my name is Keshav, and in the studio we have with us, well, we couldn't have asked for a better guest because he is the tournament director of the MSL as well as the MFA, the Meghalaya Football Association Treasurer, Wanshan Kakrang. Thank you.
Thank you,
for joining
Kesh.
us. And for those of you who don't know, the MSL brings together the top clubs from around Meghalaya to compete for one big trophy and a big prize purse as well. So this year is the third edition of the tournament, and it is the biggest by far, with 25 teams taking part in 4 groups and in 4 different venues. So now there have been 14 matches already. Today, in fact, we've got a result as well, and it all began last Friday, and we'll catch up with those results in just a moment. But first, let's get a bit more of an understanding about the MSL, Wanshan. It began in 2017-18, and what was the thinking from the MFA side about why to introduce a league like this?
Thank you, Kesh. This is the kickoff to a new show altogether, and it's a pleasure to be able to be part of this program, especially the inaugural show. Why MSL? The MFA has been the premier organization in holding the whole football environment in the state, and it's under the administrative control of the All India Football Federation as well. Looking at taking football ahead and taking football across the state, we have realized that there is something amiss, because earlier there were inter-district tournaments where basically the administrative districts used to compete against each other. But then when we look at the kind of structure that is there in the Meghalaya Football Association, there are at present 21 affiliated associations, district associations with the MFA. It was felt necessary actually to bridge the various associations in a competitive mode, and putting a competition wherein they will get to compete with, the top clubs. It is well known that the Shillong Sports Association is the premier football association, district association in the state that hosts a lot of premier teams, in fact, who have had the opportunity of even competing in the I-League. And then, but however, when you look at the players, earlier there were a lot of urban players playing for the major clubs over here, but then over a long period of time we have found that there's a lot of players coming up from other districts. So when we sat down and thought about a competitive kind of a structure, a tournament wherein all these associations can be involved, this idea of coming up with the Meghalaya State League per se then came up. Of course, we'd like to give credit to the Directorate of Sports in the Government of Meghalaya, who actually saw the concept that was presented by MFA from a holistic aspect of promoting football in the state.
And so where does it go from here? Because this is the third edition. So is it going to get bigger? Are you looking to maybe do something else outside of just men's football?
To give you the background, because this MSL is not only about giving an opportunity for the teams who win the respective district association league to participate, but then it has also brought about understanding and an opportunity for associations as to relook at the administration. When we started the MSL, we had actually only 20 teams, wherein SSA had the advantage of filling up 4 of those slots. So if you look, we really had only 15 associations, 16 associations who had conducted leagues. And of course, a lot of exemptions had been given because it was just at the inaugural stage. Then the second edition, we saw a little bit of improvement. A lot of associations have pulled up their socks with respect to the administrative setup, and then coming up with a proper, league. Now the third edition, we have incorporated a lot of strictures as such, like for example the CRS, where you need to register a player through the CRS system, which a lot of clubs from other associations are having an issue. But then we had to be hard on them, because in the long run, if we are going to actually have recognition and support from All India Football Federation, these are the small aspects that we need to fill in. That is one. The other aspect is the financial, because through the MSL and the funding support that we are getting from the government, I would like to inform you that district associations who have conducted the league successfully, they get a subsidy of 2 lakhs. So that financial incentive then, of course, leads to what? Leads to having proper accounting, having a proper account of the association in the recognized bank. And then clubs as well who qualify, who are rather champions of that of the respective associations, they get again another financial incentive of 1 lakh. And then all this money is being transferred not by cash, but then through bank transfer. So automatically the accounts have to be in place. A bank account has to be there for the clubs and for the associations. So these are small changes we are seeing. But then looking ahead and taking this forward, this is going to go bigger. This time we had a production team who are broadcasting these matches live, and in the last 3 days that the MSL, 3 to 4 days MSL has started, we have found a lot of viewership, in fact a lot of interest in actually people across, but of course we have not been here yet to filter whether the viewership is local or is span Meghalaya or is span Northeast. But then the interest level is quite high. So looking at this, it's an incentive and a motivation for the Meghalaya Football Association to really take this forward beyond men's football.
So that means, it's not just an incentive, and it's not just what we see on the pitch also. There's a lot going on in the background also to try and lift Meghalaya football.
In fact, the champion of the MSL from now onwards, they'll be eligible actually to go for the either second division I-League, provided they meet the criteria.
So you talked a bit about the response on live streaming, also the number of views, but that opening match in Joy, I was there, you were there. That was a fantastic turnout, wasn't it? How has the response been elsewhere also? A big thank you to the Joy crowd, and then again, because we had played more or less like a top match over there, where the champions of the West Jaintia Hills District Sports Association Super League and the runners-up of the SSA Super League met head-to-head, and there are a lot of Panar players playing for Rangdijit as well, so it was more of a derby for them, and really would like to thank the crowd. They came in numbers. Of course, not much of a sitting facility was there, but then they didn't mind. So they were there up in the towers, up on the rooftops, up on the water tanks, just to get a glimpse of the inaugural match of the MSL. The response we got from Mokurwat was very encouraging. Again, over there having a lot of those local teams playing, and then again playing under a structured kind of a system, and knowing very well that they will get an opportunity also to compete with a top team, because Lajong is actually being put in that group. Garo Hills is with all the shortcomings that they have, because the venue doesn't have much of a sitting area, but then again it has drawn a lot of crowd, and then they have one team from West Khas Hills playing in that group, and it is really encouraging response we have got all around. In Shillong, of course, because it's being played in the MFA ground, which doesn't have sitting capacity, but then we still have people all around the fencing area watching the matches. So we had Nyawasa, as you said, from Jawai, who were the inaugural champions in 2017-18. That was a bit of a shock and a welcome surprise, actually, that we didn't have a team from Shillong that won the inaugural MSL. And in 2019, it was Shillong Rajong, and they're the defending champions because they'll be in action, but we'll speak about them in a little bit. And then we had a bit of a break because of the worldwide COVID-19 pandemic and such. But now we're back. The MSL is back. So let's have a breakdown of the teams first. And in Group A,
before you go to a breakdown, in fact, that surprise that you said, I mean, the first edition, because this concept of home and away it was pretty new for the clubs over here, except for the clubs who have got an opportunity to play the I-League, where they play a home and an away match. So that's why the first edition was pretty of a surprise, because teams which we had expected to be there, I mean, weren't there. I mean, like, that's why we had Nyawasa winning. And then the second edition, then again, I mean, like, they got used to that, and we had Rangdajit and Lajong playing the finals.
Of course, the home and away works from the semi-finals.
Yes, from the semi-finals.
Yeah. So let's get to the breakdown of this year's teams. And in Group A, we have Maulai, Juntru, Umrit, Seng Samla, like Rengo, Se, and Langsning. And these teams have been drawn from East Khasi Hills and Riphoi. Is that right? And they're playing their matches, as Bawan Chan said, at the MFA turf here in Shillong. Group B is based in Jawai at the Kiang Nangba Stadium and consists of Nyawasa, Rangdajit United, Latat Labo, Sen Pinbalang, Youth Club Pedeng Karong, Rimba Yaupin Singh, and Moonlight United. They have an extra team in that group, and they're from East and West Jaintia Hills, as well as East Khasi Hills for Rangdajit United. Then we've got Group C with Pendeng Ray, Mauten, 7 United, Lom Ding Ngan, Riangdo, and Shillong Lajong. So they've been drawn from Eastern West, Southwest, Khasi Hills, and Lajong from East Khasi Hills. So these clubs are playing their games at the MDSA ground in Maukarwat. And finally, Group D in Tura's Chanmari ground, which has Chipakore, Warima, Youth Club, Salsala, Sports Association, Wasa FC, Atong Matgrek, and Klet Maule, and they're vying for the top spot from Group D. Of course, just one team from each group progresses to the semi-finals. So Klet Maule are from West Khasi Hills, and the other teams are from around Garo Hills. Now, according to you, Bawan Chan, are there any surprising teams that got in, or more specifically, any surprising teams that did not actually reach the MSL this time?
So, I mean, surprise, I will not say any surprise team, because these teams that have qualified are virtually the champions of their respective leagues that are there in the respective associations. But then this time, Jawai, Nongstoin, second teams were being given an opportunity to get in. However, going by what I've seen, I think pretty impressive with Lathlaba. I mean, like, in spite of them being runners-up, and then there's a lot of hype about Nyawasa, but then looking at the inaugural match and the match that we saw Lathlaba play, Lathlaba might be a team that will spring a surprise this time. It's got quite young players, but then because of the interest and the kind of, again, more organized way that this MSL has brought about in the respective associations, I see the West Khasi Hills, Southwest Khasi Hills, East West Khasi Hills group that is being hosted by Maukarwat. We will get a surprise from there.
Okay, so we've had 14 matches, as I said, and let's bring you up to date with the results of these. First and foremost, let's start with last Friday, where we had the opening match along with the opening ceremony, a big opening ceremony in Jawai, and a highly entertaining clash between Rangdajit and Nyawasa in front of that electric crowd, as you were mentioning. What was that match like for you? I mean, it was Rangjit 2-0.
Number one for Joy, it was something. In fact, a little bit of a difference, because you're used to having teams only from Jaintia Hills playing, except for exhibition matches, of course, and the local, what we call the Basti kind of tournament, where you do not actually, the top clubs don't go, actually the top players, they go and play. But then suddenly having a team like Rangjit playing the inaugural match against the champion of the West Jaintia Hills District Sports Association, which has got a very decent following actually in Nyawasa. So even that day also, one thing I would appreciate the Jaintia crowd is that they have a very good sense of football. Though the support was very much there for Nyawasa, and the local MLA also drumming a lot of support, but then when they saw Rangjit playing a good game, you could see that they were looking more into good football.
Yeah.
So that actually must have been an added advantage for Rangjit. And of course, I mean, in the second half we could see the difference in the performance of the team. But nonetheless, it was a very, very good game.
And that match was in Group B, which is the biggest group of them all, because they have an extra team. They have 7. All the other 3 groups have 6 each.
Yes.
So earlier today, there was just one match, and it was in that group. Nyawasa finally got their win against Rumbai Yapin Singh 2-0. And yesterday, again, what you were mentioning about Lathat Labo, there was a huge result, because they held Rangjit to a draw. That could have huge implications for the whole group, really.
And like I said, seeing the way Lathat played, and then of course they were runners up to Nyawasa in the West Jaintia Hills League, it will actually motivate them a lot. Because if they can continue on winning the games now, then it'll go down to goal difference. So they will have to keep that momentum. And now Rangjit also we can't take things lightly. Now they will have to ensure not only win, but they have to ensure that they score. They miss 2 beautiful sitters just at the stroke of halftime and at the stroke of the end of the game. So that could have made a difference.
And as you said, it could come down to goal difference, and Lathat Labo in their first match had won 5-0 on Saturday against Senpin Phalang. And Rumbai had blanked Padang Karong 2-0, and the latter also lost their second match to Mulai United 2-1. So let's go from the busiest group to the one that has been the least active, and you'll be able to explain why. That's the Group C in Mauker Wat, which has only had 2 games so far. Why is that they're a bit behind the rest?
Lajong has been placed in that group, and all of us know that since Lajong is participating in the qualification for the I-League, in the second division I-League at present, so we had to retweet the fixture a little bit. So, but then it is going to get a bit busier once Lajong comes back, and we're going to see more of things. That is why I said that particular thing is going to spring a surprise, because why? These teams now will be playing first against each other. They would have tested the team, they would have tested their strength, and they would have got into the competition mode. So by the time these teams play against Lajong, I believe they'll be a little bit stronger.
So that group will be playing a bit of catch-up once Lajong finish their second division league matches, and the last of that is actually this Sunday in Shillong. And of course we wish Lajong all the best for that. Now in the 2 games so far, we've seen Mauten edge Pendengre 2-1, and then 7 United and Lomdingan play out a 2-2 draw. And now let's come to Group A, because it's got 2 big Shillong clubs plus 4 hungry other clubs. And no surprises that Maulai, who are the Shillong Premier League champions, they won their opening match 5-1 against Jinthru, and then Langsning beat Umkse 3-1. But they weren't one-sided at all. I mean, even these Shillong clubs didn't look like they were playing their best, do you think?
See, the issue over here of the Shillong clubs, they're used to playing against each other. and then having, I mean, like the mentality of the coaches, they've been able to gauge each other for many years now. Now having teams, sunny teams from outside who they really do know what is the approach of the team, that must have worked against them. And then one thing about the disadvantage for other teams who are here in this group in Shillong is that none of them are used to playing the turf. So playing the turf, you need to pace yourself well and everything. So those are disadvantages for them. But then unless we create this kind of opportunities for these teams to come and compete with the top thing, I mean, they'll not be able to understand the capacity. So yes, I am not looking for a surprise from the Shillong group, but then down the years, we are going to look at teams really coming up from the point of view of, again, there will be a demand of proper infrastructure in the respective district associations, which again will help in improving more playgrounds across the state. And then down the line, you're going to see an even playing field for everyone.
Now, the other match in that group was Umrit, who defeated Seng Samla Light Ringo 3-1. But do you think it's going to be a battle between Meghalaya and Langsning in the end? Or do you think?
Yeah, I mean, going by what the matches we have seen, you will find that the Shillong teams like Langsning and Meghalaya, the second half will be very advantageous for them. Because it's a very energy sapping playing in the artificial turf. And not unless these teams who are here in this group are being able to gauge that, it'll be pretty tough for them to give any stiff competition to them. So.
And then let's take a look at Group D, which is taking place on the other side of the state in Tura. And it took some time before we got an actual win because the first two matches were draws, both 1-1. The first was between Chipakore and Warima, and then Selsela and Wasa. And then finally yesterday we had a huge result. Clay Maule demolishing Atong Matgrik 7-1. That's the biggest result we've had so far this year. Are they the favourites basically, do you think?
It'll be too early to say because going by what has been happening actually in the Garo Hill zone, the initial matches is a little bit cagey because like this time the MSL has started very late, and a lot of teams actually had more or less disbanded the players. So the moment they came to know that MSL is coming up, then regrouping, and then they were not in competitive mode. So I think so 1 or 2 games will be a little bit of they'll be a bit stale, but then the last 3-4 games is going to be very interesting. Advantage for Clay Maule, I believe they've been having a lot of tournaments in West Kharsail, so that is the advantage for those players. But then whether they'll be able to build up on this momentum, that needs a lot to be seen.
Okay, and before we go, let us remind you all that there are 3 matches scheduled for Thursday. There's Jintru versus Umrit in Shillong, Sen Pinpalang versus Rangdajit United in Jawai, and Warima up against Selsela in Tura. And to end our coverage tonight, we'll leave you with some more clips from that joyous opening ceremony in Jawai from last week. And thank you, Wanchan, for coming.
It's a pleasure.
And we hope you've enjoyed the show, and we hope to see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Viewers, please take the opportunity on watching these matches. We are bringing you live through YouTube. So the more you watch, the more our players will be encouraged. Thank you.
Ahua!